Hi everyone, I'm back with another card tutorial. I wanted to share with you this really cute Wizard of Oz card that I came up with. I call it View of the Emerald City, and there is a view of the Emerald City in the window here on this card. I tried to incorporate the elements, or some of the elements that to me played a key role in the movie. The Emerald City, the poppy field, the yellow brick road, her ruby red slippers, and the blue gingham check material that Dorothy had on her dress. So those are some of the things, and I also found some Wizard of Oz style font that I was able to download for free on my computer and print off some cute little quotes and things like that to go with this card. So this is the front of the card. And what I'm going to do, this is it's going to be another long tutorial, so I'm going to try to film this a little differently to where I can do some editing and try to get it down as short a time as I possibly can. So this is the front of the card with the poppy field and the Emerald City in the background, and the inside of the card with the poppy field in the corner here. And like I said, this is where I had downloaded this Wizard of Oz style font, and I typed up some stuff on my computer and printed it. So this isn't stamped, this is printed off my computer to get that style font. So, and I'm gonna start by, and also this envelope, I'm sorry, this is an A2 dimensional size envelope. It has dimension to it because this card is a chunky card. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. I see how thick the card is there. So I needed an envelope that can withstand holding a card this thick besides a normal A2 size. And I found a tutorial on YouTube that is by Schell Fabian. She has got a tutorial on how to make this card or this envelope. It's very easy. It takes a 12 by 12 size piece of paper that you cut down and do some scoring and folding and glue it, and it's just very simple. So I'm not going to show you how to make this envelope. I will put a link to her tutorial on how you make this particular envelope. So it's very easy to follow her tutorial, and you should be able to go through and size it down to what size you need as far as thickness goes. So I'll put a link to her tutorial for that. So you have the cute envelope and the card, and I'm going to start out by showing you the materials. So I will start with our inks. These first set of colors, you will need a sponge to match each color for ink blending. So we have Daffodil Delight, Crushed Curry, Pool Party, and Lemon Lime Twist. We're also going to need, now these are just going to be for stamping for the most part, these colors here. So these won't need a sponge. Garden Green, the Real Red for our poppy field, and Emerald Envy for our Emerald City. We're also going to be using some of possibly Tranquil Tide. So them are the colors of inks that we'll be needing for this card. You will also need a basic black Stampin' Up marker or a black Sharpie. Your basic glues, I'm using dimensionals, some glue dots, some of this Tombow liquid glue, some clear, Aleene's clear glue. You will also need your base card, or your base layer is Whisper White 8.5 by 5.5 scored at 4 1/4. So this is a 110-pound cardstock. Daffodil Delight, and it is 4 by 5 1/4. And we're going to emboss this with a brick embossing folder. Okay, I'm back. I had to go out and put my chickens up for the night. Those girls are crazy. Got two nice big perches out there in their greenhouse area, and 4 girls are fighting over one spot. They're so funny. Anyways, I digress. I'm sorry. So you will also need a gold foil paper that is 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. I also am using, you can use foam tape, but I'm using this fun foam. I got this nice little tidbit of a tip from Jennifer McGuire. If you're not subscribed to her channel, she does beautiful cards. And she does a lot of new techniques and things. That's how I learn a lot of the techniques that I do, is through her. But she uses fun foam to go in behind your card, and it doesn't use up a ton of expensive foam tape. This fun foam is really cheap. So I'm using a piece of yellow fun foam, and my fun foam is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8 for this card. You will need some red foil paper for your ruby red shoes, and I don't have any out here, but some red 1 1/8 or red 1/8 inch ribbon for the bows for your little ruby red slippers. And you also need some white scrap whisper white paper for the little inside pieces of your ruby red slippers. You will also need a piece of whisper white paper to make your window. The window measures about 3 3/8 by 2 3/4. That's the size of the die. The die that you would use for this is the Hearth and Home Framelit by Stampin' Up. They still sell this in their catalog online, so they still have this if you wish to purchase that. I'm also using, this is Hobby Lobby's brand. I believe Stampin' Up has a brick, or they did have a brick folder, embossing folder, and so you will need an embossing folder along with your big kick, big shot, and your accessories that goes with it, that helps you to be able to emboss with an embossing folder to emboss our yellow layer. You will also need your white piece of paper, whisper white paper, for your scene that goes in the window, for this here, for your main focal piece. And this paper is 2 3/8 by 3 1/8. You will also need some mask post-it notes, and I also use post-it tape for your mask, to do your masking. And this is just basic post-it notes that I cut into like a heel type shape, and this is kind of the negative to where we can do masking on our heel, for our poppy field heels, to mask off for doing coloring in the sky, for coloring in the grass. And I also took post-it note tape. This is a 2-inch wide, and I doubled it up. I stacked 2 pieces together and cut out a road for my yellow brick road. And I kept this piece here even though I don't really use it, just in case I might need it for something. So we're really needing this piece more than anything. So those are the masks that you'll need. Now, the stamp sets. And you can use whatever you might have that will work for you. I'm using this grass swath from the Sheltering Tree stamp set, and I'm also going to use this little flower stamp set that comes with it as well. So this will be for our poppies, and this is going to be for the grass for our scene. And to be able to get our rectangle shapes, skyscrapers for our Emerald City, I'm using, this is the Sweet Home stamp set from the last holiday catalog. I'm using this strip right here. It's a candy cane strip. And I'm not using the actual candy cane stripe side. I'm turning it over and using the back side of it, which makes a nice rectangular skyscraper look. So I'm using that one particular one here. They still sell this stamp set if you're interested. They also have the die cuts that go with it. It's in the occasions. I'm at the annual catalog, the new one that just come out. They still have it. And to get the nice little tuft of grass, this little piece here, I'm using the Art Impressions flower set. It's a foliage flower set. You will also need some gingham, blue check gingham ribbon. This is a 1.5 inch wide. I got this at Walmart. And a popsicle stick. The popsicle stick is to help make the curtain and make it more boxy. Let me get a few things together and I will get started on showing you how I put all the little like curtains and the windows and the shoes and all that kind of thing together. Okay, I'm going to start by showing y'all how I put the scene and the window together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Daffodil Delight, that is the yellow, the main yellow that we're using in this card, and I'm going to ink up in the center in a curve shape. So I'm just going to add my ink to my sponge and just start inking up and kind of curve it around. So now I'm going to lay my mask down on top of my paper. I'll move it over. My mask is getting to where it's not as sticky because I've used it so much. But I'm going to make it work anyways. So I'll have to really press that down. So the next color we're going to use is the Lemon Lime Twist. It is Stampin' Up's new in color. It's a very pretty color. Very pretty green. So I'm going to take my top mask that I'm going to use. Actually, let me do this first. Let me ink my sky. That's my next step. So let me go ahead and add this green grass mound here, or not green grass, but this grass mound here that we're going to cover up to where we don't get any blue anywhere but where we want it. And I'm going to use my Pool Party, which I am going to ink up and add to my scene here, starting on the edge, and we're just blending the color in on the edge, and then I blend it into the center. There we go. Okay, so we're done with Pool Party. So now we can start with our, see how nicely that masked, can't even talk, so sorry. So now we're going to cover our top to where we can do in our green for our grass. And there again, I'm using the Lemon Lime Twist, and we're just going to fill in these two sides here with it. This is just our base colors. We're going to go in with a couple of stamps to fill in grass and flowers, and of course our Emerald City. I'm just trying to get some base color down to where you won't see any white through. See how nice of a color that is? It's a beautiful color. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside for right now. We're going to need it again here in a few minutes. And then so we have our sky, we have our grass, and I get up my mask there, and we have our yellow brick road. Okay, so now I'm going to remask the bottom. Put my mask over, and then we're going to work on our Emerald City. I'm going to get my Lemon Lime Twist, and we're going to use Garden Green and possibly the Tranquil Tide. It's the another new Stampin' Up color. So I'm going to get it ready. So let me go ahead and get my Garden Green in. So I'm just inking up this back side of the stamp. And I've got my mask down, and now I'm going to start with the tallest building in the Emerald City. So we have our green buildings going in. And then I'm going to stamp down just a little bit, butt up against the side. Same on this side, down a little more. Okay, and now I'm going to take one of my Post-its and just cover the top of that building. Clean off my mask, or my stamp. Take a little white and rub it off. And then I'm going to take my Lemon Lime Twist that I have here. I'm going to ink it up, and I'm going to stamp above that one to give it a look of a different colored building in behind. Okay, see, we masked it, and so see how nicely that did. And then we're also going to do another lemon lime building off to the side there, and one down a little shorter over here, but make it a little more narrow. Okay, I'm going to stamp another on that building there. I must have, my ink I think needs to be redone, so let me stamp there. Let's do this other one again. And it also makes it darker. So now I've got those. I'm going to go in with the Tranquil Tide. Clean off my stamp. And then I'm going to, if you flip it over, the edge is a little different from the this edge here. The top edge, it has more of an angle. This will give us an angled building. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp one in this kind of center like, a little tall, and then one down, and okay, we're getting there. And every one of these that I have done, they've all been different. I've not done any of them the same. So we have our Emerald City. Let me take off my mask. You see how it turned out? See how cute? Okay, so now I need to stamp in my grass. So I'm going to go ahead and take my Garden Green and Lemon Lime Twist. This will be for our grass. And we're going to start with Garden Green. We're going to ink up. I'm just inking up one side here. I'm not going to ink up the whole stamp. Okay, and then we're going to stamp it down. And kind of skip a little space, stamp again. Skip a little space, stamp again. All the way down. We're going to do the other side with this side. Stamp it down. A little space, stamp it down. Just keep working it down. Okay, so we have our Garden Green in. I'm going to clean off my stamp and get ready for the Lemon Lime Twist. I think we're done with that one. Close it up. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with the Lemon Lime Twist. Ink up the one side, but we're going to stamp in the areas where I skipped. And continue to fill it in with this really pretty green. Do it the other side, same way. Okay. Clean off my stamp. Alright, so we got that done, and now we're going to move on to our poppies. And so I've got this little, you probably can't see it, but this little poppy, this little flower stamp I'm going to take, and I'm going to use my Real Red. And I'm just going to randomly stamp in the grass these little red flowers for our poppy field. I'm going to do the other side. Okay, so we have our poppies, and now I'm going to add my little tuft of grass, and these here are just randomly stamped. I try to stamp them more along the road just to give it some looks of taller grass. I'll do it on this side. Pretty. Okay. So we have that done. Now our next step will be to take our marker, our Stampin' Right black marker, and I'm just going to go into the centers of these little poppies and add the little black centers, because you know the poppies have the black centers. I'm going to do it to this side. I think this card was very cute. I got the idea, it's been mulling around in my head for a few months, but I got the idea from a friend of mine. She is doing a party for some kids that I think through her church, where they're doing a Wizard of Oz theme. So she was asking me, I have a cricket, and she was asking me if I could come up with some signs for her. And so I was looking at some stuff on Pinterest and looking at the different signs and stuff they had on there. I thought, how cute would it be to come up with a Wizard of Oz card? I've not ever seen one. There might be some floating out there, but I just thought it would be very cute to have something like that. Something different. So right now I'm taking my Wink of Stella pen and I'm adding shimmer to my Oz, not to my Oz, but to my Emerald City. Every time I've seen it in the movies as a kid, it always had this glow about it, the twinkle and all that. So I'm adding my twinkle, and I'm going to take some of this color that rubs off of this dark green here, and I'm going to add it to my light green to kind of create shadow. I don't know if you can see. Let me zoom in a little bit. No, that's out. Whoop. Okay. So I'm just like, as I'm filling in this darker green, some of the color's rubbing off on my tip, and I'm just going to rub it in over here on my light color to help add some shadow. And you can always dip your pen into your ink pad if you want. You might end up with some glitter on your pad after doing that, but you still can do that. That's still doable. I'll clean off my tip. And then the last thing I'm going to do before I let this little booger dry is I'm going to add my little white gel pen. And it's just adding highlights to my buildings as if the sun is reflecting on it. And it gives it a little more character. It also can show where the building edges are, where they kind of blend. It'll show that. A little up there. So we have our little Emerald City scene. I'm going to show you how I put together the boxed valance of part of the curtain, how I did that with the popsicle stick. So all I did there to get that look was I took my window and I laid it out here and held my popsicle stick above it and marked just on the outside of it because I wanted that look like the curtain was coming around the sides of the window. And I went through and just cut these two pieces out. I'm not going to cut these to have all my curtains put together, so I'm not going to cut this, but I did cut those two pieces out, and you ended up with a kind of a rectangle piece. And then I took my ribbon and I opened it up, and I took let's see, I just took my popsicle stick and took a couple of glue dots and put it on there just to kind of hold it in place, and laid it on about center, and I kind of lined it up with the little checks there to where make sure it's nice and straight so our pattern would be straight. And then I just took the edge and put a glue dot to hold it over. Now the glue dots won't hold this ribbon. It has like a sheen to it or whatever. So I mean, it'll hold it, but not for the duration of the card to get to the recipient. So what I ended up doing was having to use a tougher glue, and I folded the two pieces over, added the glue, and then I glued this down like that. And then I ended up putting it underneath one of my acrylic blocks to hold it together until the glue set. And it ended up, when you got it done, you ended up with a boxed piece like this. It's nothing super fancy. And then I trimmed the corners off the back side of it to where it wouldn't hang down below your curtain, and took a lighter and just kind of singed these sides here to where you wouldn't have a bunch of frayed ribbon material there. So it's just basically a popsicle stick sandwiched in between the ribbon to give it a boxed valance look. Next thing I did is I went ahead and made up a bunch of ruby red slippers, and I told you earlier that I just cut out my own design. I couldn't find anything online or anything that I had that would work, so I just laid it down. I took some of my red foil paper, laid my slippers down on the back of the red foil paper and just traced them out. And then I took some Whisper white paper and laid those two white pieces on, and I went ahead and labeled them. That way I knew, wouldn't forget which side was the right and which side was the left. And then traced those out and trimmed them out. And then I just glued the white in place on top of the red, and then made me up a little tiny red bows for the shoes, and you have cute little ruby red slippers. Okay, for the bricked layer, what I did was I just put my paper, lined it up inside of my embossing folder the way about a little over halfway down, or halfway in, the paper halfway in, and then embossed it. And I didn't emboss all the way down. I embossed and stopped right about here and then come back out. And then opened it up, and I put the paper in a little bit higher, trying to line up my markings as close as I could, and then folded my folder down and embossed it through. I didn't go all the way across because I didn't want that harsh line of the folder there. I went you know, about halfway down on the paper as well, and it ended up with a full bricked embossed layer. Now this was the Daffodil Delight, so then I took my crushed curry and a sponge, and I just went through and I sponged my edges and in the center to give it more depth. It gave it more of a gold look. And then after you get that done, you take your stickles and you squirt your stickles on top, and I just use my finger and just rub the stickles around to give it more of a kind of even glittered look, and that's what we ended up with, the glittered brick piece here. Now we're going to put it all together, so let me put that to the side and let's get started. I'm going to start by adhering my brick wall to my gold piece. Actually, I'm going to add my stickles to it first. I haven't stickled this one yet, so we're going to go ahead and add the stickles, and it was really easy to do. I'm just going to squirt some stickles on. You see, I'm not being too careful with it. And then just use your finger and kind of scrub it around with your finger to spread the glitter. Now this will have to dry, and I already got another one already made up ready to go, so okay, so I have that pretty much spread out pretty good. Get the excess glitter off my fingers. And then our next step would be to adhere the this on top of here because it's still wet, but to adhere this piece to our gold foil piece here, and I'm using liquid glue for that because this is a chunky card. I didn't want to take a chance of it coming apart with just the snail tape. And I got it stuck to there, and I'm going to lay my gold piece down. This is a really pretty foil piece that has texture to it. And I'm just going to lay it on top. And what's great about this liquid glue is it is forgiving, at least for a few minutes or a few seconds. You can shift it around to get it to line up just the way you want it. Now this should, I designed this card to where I have like about 1/8 of an inch of gold poking out the sides there. I'm just going to flip it over because it is wet and press it down. Okay, so now I'm going to also go ahead and add my foam piece here. This is just regular old cheap fun foam you can get at Walmart, you can get any craft store, and I went ahead and went with yellow to where if you've seen it, it would match the road and the gold, but you can also do white if you have white. Actually do any color really, but you're not going to see it that much. And I'm just going to lay it on top like so. And then I'm going to take this whole piece and I'm going to set it underneath an acrylic block, and I'm going to move on to, I have another piece already ready to go. It's nice and dry. I just don't want to end up with anything on that. So I'm going to set it underneath an acrylic block here to help keep it flat and help it to dry, or to help it dry flat. Okay, so I already have this one ready to go. Now, I'm just going to set this card base aside because we don't need it just yet. Let me zoom out some. Okay. Now, I had showed you earlier how we made our window piece, and I'm going to show you how I put it together. Like I said, I already have my acetate piece. You see the reflection of it in behind my window. I just attached it with the score tape. This is an 1/8 of an inch score tape. You can get it at Amazon. So I went ahead and added the score tape and had it ready to go. I'm just going to take the back off of it. And you can see that we have some excess hanging off the bottom here. So I'm just going to take my pencil and mark it, and we're going to just trim off that excess piece to where it don't hang out below the window. Okay, so now I got my backing off my window, and I just laid my piece down and then laid my window on top where I wanted it. Making sure that it's all covered, there's nothing hanging out. And you might have some sticky on the back here. I just took my little embossing thing here. It's like a powder brush thing. It's for when you emboss. Embossing brush, you're gonna call it, and just kind of covered over that sticky to where it wouldn't stick to everything. until I'm ready for it to stick. So we have our picture and our window. Now our next step will be to adhere the the window to our card base we have here. So I'm just going to use the liquid glue for that. Sticking it down pretty good. And this liquid glue sets pretty fast. So, and then I'll take one of my valances and just kind of lay it on top, because I'm going to need to take some ribbon and we're going to stick it here, and it's going to come back down to here. We need to cut that off. For this window, that piece is about 4 1/4 inches long, and I'm going to put this down with some of my liquid glue, just kind of go across the top. And I only did one side of my window for a curtain because I didn't want to cover my Emerald City. And I'm going to pucker one side here. Get it to pucker. There we go. So I basically put one little pleat in that to where the curtain will have a little pleated pucker. Okay, and that should, I'm going to put down acrylic block on it for a second. Now my fingers are all sticky. Should hold it pretty good. So we got our window on, we got our curtain starting to go on. We're going to add our valance, but I'm going to use some of this this Tombow multi mono liquid glue. Make sure that doesn't stick to. Okay, so now we're going to add the curtain top here. Like I said, these are this is one of those cards that is not a 10-minute card. It gets put together in pieces, so we will need to let some of this dry and then come back and finish putting it together. Okay, so we've had some time for our ribbon window covering to dry on our window to where it won't go anywhere. Now I'm going to take this is about 6 inches of white sheer ribbon, and I'm going to tie off a little bow on the end of this gingham ribbon here as kind of a tie back for a curtain. Now I'm going to trim off my edges. And then I'm going to take a glue dot and tuck it under the knot of my bow to help hold it in place to where it doesn't shift around. And I also, as you may have noticed, I kind of puckered my ribbon a little bit over here and then pulled it straight on this side to give it more of a Priscilla style curtain, I guess. And the reason why I didn't decide to go ahead and do another curtain on this side is I didn't want to hide the view of my scene of the Emerald City here. I didn't want to hide any of that, so I thought it would be just as cute doing it that way. So our next thing is to go ahead and put on our greeting, and like I said, I printed off a few greetings. This is a font I found on the computer that is called the Wizard or Oz Wizard or something like that. I'll have to put a link in the description below that I downloaded from my computer, and I did different ones. Went ahead and typed up a bunch of different sayings, and this one of course says happy birthday, and the inside says keep calm and follow the yellow brick road. And I went through and looked up quotes. You can always do quotes of the different things that the character said in the story or in the movie that were famous. But I thought this one was cute, keep calm and follow the yellow brick road, and I did it in that font. This is a Wizard of Oz style font. So this one's a little bit different. I did the put your slippers on, and I did a flag. I like doing flags, I don't know why. But I flagged it, and I'm going to put it on my card. Of course, I'll have to make some adjustments because this thing's a little long. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off, hopefully get this straight, this edge here. And then I'm going to use some dimensionals. And then I'm going to just add my dimensionals. Get the glue off there, the workspace. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and pop this down in place. Now I'm going to attach it down. I need to make sure I leave room for my slippers. I think it looks cute. I mean, you might even see that tail. Well, by the time I get my slippers put on, you might not see that flag, but it's there. And then I'm going to put on some glue on one of the slippers and then add a dimensional to the back of this other one to where that'll pop it up. And then I had it set in there. I thought it was kind of cute where the white, there we go, ribbon coming over the shoe. I thought that was kind of neat. Cute. Okay, so we're getting close. We got the outside of our card done. I have our cute, I'm checking my other card to make sure I have everything on here. So we have our base, and I'm going to attach this in a second. I'm going to go in and do a little bit of inking on the inside here, kind of like the way we did the front of our window, or the inside of our window. I'm going to take this lemon lime twist, and I'm going to ink it up and just ink on a look of a heel. Okay. And then I'm going to take my garden green and I'm going to stamp, probably need both of those, and I'm going to stamp this grass. Going to stamp it this direction. And then I'm going to also add in some of that lemon lime yellow. Actually, it's lemon lime twist. I love this color. I think it's so pretty. So we got that done, and I'm going to go in with my little real red, and we're going to do the poppies. Okay, and I went ahead and mounted, being that I had to print this off, I couldn't stamp directly onto my card obviously because it's printed from the computer, so I printed it off and then backed it on some of that gold foil paper that we put on the front of the card just to kind of give it a little bit of, to make it match, to make it coordinate with the card. And I'm just going to adhere it with some Snell. I'm trying to get it straight. Okay, now you have to be careful if you do any printing off with your ink on like your printer on your computer, and then you do any kind of ink blending, you've got to be careful about this printer ink. It might smear or smudge. So we have the inside of our card, and it's cute. It matches the front. Oh, I got to add the dots to the poppies. I'll spare you guys of that. So we need to go ahead and glue on our front piece to our back, and I'm using our liquid glue. Apply that. And I believe it should be set up to where the base of the card should have 1/8 of an inch border. So there we go. We have a cute finished Wizard of Oz themed card. This is a very cute card. I'm glad to share it with you. If you like my videos, please subscribe and please give me a thumbs up and comment below. And hopefully I'll be back with you again with another card tutorial soon. Thanks.